Let me hit you with a hard truth most business owners don't want to hear. You don't have a hiring problem. You have a revenue leak disguised as a hiring process. If you run a home service business, you already know the game has changed. Job boards don't work like they used to. Qualified people are harder to find, and when you do find them, they ghost you, or worse, get hired by your competitor while you're still waiting for someone to review the application. You're not just losing candidates, you're losing revenue. Because in the home service world, every empty truck, every unstaffed job, every no-show interview is money bleeding out the side of your business. Here's the problem most people don't see. They're stuck playing resume roulette, posting a job, crossing their fingers, and hoping someone decent applies. It's slow, it's stressful, and it's completely backwards. You're reacting to openings instead of preparing for growth. You're waiting for a position to become a crisis before you start looking, and by the time you do make a hire, you've already lost weeks of productivity, profit, and momentum. You're not building a team. Here's the kicker. Most businesses treat hiring like it's an HR problem, something for the back office to deal with, paperwork, compliance, scheduling. But in home services, hiring is not an admin task. It's a growth function. Your technicians, installers, sales reps, they are all your revenue producers. Every one of them represents a truck, a job, a ticket, a dollar. So when your hiring is broken, your revenue is broken. Let me put it this way. You wouldn't ignore a leaking pipe in your customer's house, right? But most business owners ignore the biggest leak in their business, a broken, outdated, reactive hiring system that costs them thousands every week. Let's talk numbers for a second. If a single empty technician role means you have just 5,000 a week in unbooked work, that's $250,000 a year for one truck sitting idle. Multiply that by 2, 3, or even 5 open positions, and you're staring down $1 million in lost revenue. And that doesn't even count the time spent reviewing the wrong resumes, the no-shows, the time wasters, the bad hires you have to retrain or fire. Not to mention the lost morale from your current team having to pick up the slack. It's exhausting, it's expensive, and it's avoidable. Here's something no job board will ever admit. You're not struggling to find talent because people don't want to work. You're struggling because the system you're using to find them is broken. Job boards only reach about 30% of the active workforce, the ones who are looking for a job. That means 70% of the people who could be a great fit for your team never even see your job post. The best candidates, they're already working, but they're open to better opportunities if you know how to reach them. If your only strategy is post and pray, you're invisible to 70% of the talent pool. That's not a hiring strategy, that's hiring roulette. Most businesses we talk to are juggling 5 different tools: Indeed logins, Calendly links, email follow-up systems, and CRM notes. Everything's scattered, nothing is automated, and no one knows who's doing what. Hiring becomes a bottleneck, or worse, a black hole where great candidates go to die. Managers say, yeah, I'll review those applications tonight. But tonight turns into next week. And by then, your best candidate is gone. Gone to the company that had their act together. Gone to the team that called first. Gone because time kills deals. Let me be blunt. You cannot grow a revenue-generating team by playing defense. You cannot scale your business if you're always behind on hiring. You cannot hit revenue goals if your trucks are empty. And you cannot attract high-caliber talent with a slow, outdated process that looks and feels like every other company in town. If you're waiting for the right person to magically apply, you're losing to the companies who build pipelines before they need them. At Talent on Tap, we've helped home service companies make over 5,000 revenue hires, and those hires have driven more than $1 billion in revenue. Let me repeat that. $1 billion in booked jobs, upsells, installs, service calls, all made possible by building revenue-first hiring systems. Not luck, not job board prayer, a real proactive system. Here's what we learned. The businesses that win don't treat hiring like a task. They treat it like a revenue strategy. They don't wait for people to apply. They market their company like they market their services. They don't screen manually. They use automation to filter and qualify. They don't guess on culture fit. They use assessments and interviews that actually measure it. And most of all, they don't wait until they're desperate to hire. They build pipelines of ready-to-go talent before they ever need to make a call. The moment you stop thinking about hiring as filling a position and start thinking about it as fueling your revenue, everything changes. You stop scrambling. You stop settling. You stop losing good people because your system couldn't keep up. And instead, you start making intentional hires, strategic hires, hires that drive your business forward, not just fill a gap. Here's what a modern, revenue-focused hiring system looks like. Passive candidates reach through targeted ads, not just the job boards. One-way video interviews that save hours and filter out the tire kickers. Personality and skills assessment that actually predict performance, and automated scheduling and follow-up so no one slips through the cracks. Nurture sequences that build trust and keep candidates warm, keep them excited. A system that tracks performance, not just hires. So you know who's generating ROI. This is what hiring looks like when it's aligned with your revenue. Look, I know what it's like to juggle a million things at once. You've got customers, jobs, techs, inventory, dispatch. It never ends. But here's the truth. You cannot scale chaos. If your hiring system is manual, inconsistent, and reactive, then so is your revenue. But when your hiring system is automated, consistent, and aligned with your business goals, you don't just fill seats, you build a revenue machine. So if you're tired of watching revenue slip away every time you post a job, if you're done losing great candidates because your team didn't follow up fast enough, if you want to stop playing resume roulette and start building a revenue workforce, then it's time to make the shift. And we'll show you how. Click the link right below. Let's set up a strategy session and get you moving in the right direction.